I'll be asking the questions. So, what training do you have to do to become a police officer?
Right, I spent 9 months in police training school every day for 9 months. And you have exams every 2 weeks. And then you have bigger exams every couple of months before you're allowed to what we call pass out.
When you were young, did you always want to be a police officer?
Absolutely not. I wanted to join the army. And I went to Sandhurst, which is the British military academy. I'm yellow-green colourblind, so I couldn't do the job I wanted to do. And my father was working in London at the time. He came back with a newspaper advertisement and said, "Here's the Hong Kong police. What about this? Why not?" And gave it a whirl.
So did you work in Britain as a police officer?
No, I more or less came straight from school. I didn't go to university.
What would you describe your job in Hong Kong as being?
My primary function is the investigation of non-suspicious death for the coroner. And it's not like the American shows. Hong Kong has a coroner, and in law, there are 22 reportable cases of death, non-suspicious. If it's suspicious, then it automatically goes to CID. If it's non-suspicious, the coroner decides whether or not I actually investigate.
Is it hard for you? Do you have to look at deceased
Dead bodies? Sometimes.
Was that one of the hardest things to overcome when you...
It's not fun, but you tend to, because it's part of your job, you tend to divorce your feeling from actually doing what you're doing. It's not something I'd recommend.
But what right now, over the years, what has become your favorite part of being
A police officer.
a police officer?
You're not going to believe this, but actually helping people. Helping people. That's fundamentally what I try and do.
So you worked as non-suspicious desk.
Yep.
But what other jobs are there in the police force?
Many jobs. We have normal, what we call a uniform branch.
So there's like forensics, medical examiner.
You can do forensics. The medical examiner is a separate part of government called a pathologist, and he will look at the body and do autopsies. And sometimes I'm obliged to attend those autopsies. For example, there was a girl. How old are you?
12.
12. There was a girl 18 in Hong Kong U who was taking a shower and fell in the shower. She was dead. There was no reason. No, she just collapsed. So I had to go to that autopsy for an 18-year-old girl, not much older than you. And it was quite... I had a new guy who joined my team sort of 2 or 3 days before, and it was his first autopsy. And after the autopsy, he said he didn't want to work in my unit anymore because it wasn't what he thought. And the excuse he gave was that his wife was pregnant, and it was very bad luck for him to be working in this unit, which is okay. All my guys are volunteers. But yeah, there's many jobs in the police force. Forensic, ballistics, firearms. We got the tactical unit. We've got obviously CID. Many jobs. And part of the good thing is because if you're a police officer, you don't do the same thing all the time. You change. The bosses will move you from job to job, normally after about every 2 years. So you don't get bored. Some jobs you like, some jobs not so much.
So, in any of your past experiences, have you not liked what your bosses have made you do?
Of course. Do you like what your teachers tell you to do? Not all the time. You guys do homework?
Yeah.
So you're a pain in the neck, right?
Yeah.
Seriously a pain in the neck. I mean, how many hours do you do a night?
2 at least.
Huh?
2 at least.
Every night?
Yeah.
That's outrageous. And the weekend?
It depends if there is.
And it also depends on the generosity.
See? So you got to do this stuff even though you don't want to do it, right? It's horrible.
So you've been working in the police force for 30 years. So
How do you know that?
Your
Research.
LinkedIn.
Oh, my LinkedIn. You
Yeah.
actually did the LinkedIn thing.
yeah, what's the biggest case you've done?
I did a young 5-month-old baby that died on the surgeon's table, and it went to. I recommended the death inquest, and the surgeon had basically made a mistake. It was a heart problem. The 5-month-old baby is how big? That big?
Yeah.
Very, very small. The surgeon had made a problem, and I had great difficulty in getting outside medical opinion to agree with me that there should be a death inquest. That was quite a big case. It was in the newspaper. Long, long time ago. I was quite proud of that.
Has there been many cases where you've been told to just investigate a non-suspicious death, but it has turned out to be
Suspicious?
Suspicious.
Not that many, because I'm just trying to think, maybe there have been a couple of cases I haven't been happy with, and I've asked CID. For example, I had a body come out of the water up near Castle Peak when I was working in Castle Peak, and on the back there were lacerations. You know what a laceration is?
Yeah.
Like cut marks on the back of the body,
Yeah.
and to me they looked like knife wounds. To me, and I wasn't happy with this, so I called the CID to come and have a look. And what did they think of it? And actually, because he'd been in the sea, and where he was picked up, there were rocks, sharp rocks. And the CID, criminal investigation inspector, looked at the body with me, and he was happy that it wasn't suspicious. So not so many, really.
When you trained as a police officer, did you have to train in investigation and in interrogation, like how to find out if somebody's lying?
They give you a very basic, depending on basic training, it is basic. If you join CID, then they will teach you a little bit more how to interrogate or interview. We prefer interview, because interrogation sounds very aggressive.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows the good cop, bad cop routine. Everybody's seen that.
Yeah.
I don't think that works anymore, do you? To be honest.
Could you just give us some pointers from the basic training, how to recognize if somebody's lying?
There's a thing called a tell. You know what a tell is? Which is what?
So like some people have a talent, like when they lie, they might move their mouth or like
They might
move their mouth and like scratch their
scratch their nose or their
or like
ears,
blink excessively.
or their hands are going, or their legs
Or
are
like
going.
put their hands in.
Yeah. Also, the way that people look, which direction they look, can tell you if they're lying or not, supposedly.
Sometimes their hands sweat and they could be okay.
That's right. And you know the, what do they call it, the lie detector?
Yeah.
Some people can beat that. They can train themselves to beat that. Don't ask me how. But that's not 100%. So there are supposedly ways that you can tell that somebody is lying, but I have to rely on other information, not just the person who's talking to me. So hopefully, where were you at 8:30 this morning?
School?
Right, you home.
No, at school.
How can we confirm that? So I would ask your mother, I'd ask your sister or your brother, yes, he was at school, or no, he was in the shower, or he's still in bed. So I would get other information to confirm or corroborate where you were.
So like witnesses?
Witnesses, CCTV. Everybody's got phones these days, you know? Somebody will have taken a photograph of you in bed. We hope not. But there's so much information, you have to decide which information is correct or believable. But LinkedIn was a good start.
You've been a police officer a long time, and how have your skills developed as you've been a police officer? And what's
Very good question. I think you learn to focus on what is important very quickly, because there's so much information out there. I gave an example. You know this Malayan airline that's come down?
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at the news, the internet, the newspapers. There's so much information, and it's all wrong, because nobody knows actually what happened, and they won't until they find the aircraft, if they find the aircraft. So all this stuff, and there's buckets of it, buckets of it. you know, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, he did this, she did that. Nobody knows. And they've got these so-called experts talking about this, that, the other, the engines did this, the engines did that. Did they? How do they know? So until they actually find the aircraft, they don't know. Until they find that black box, which is actually orange, they don't know. So all this, what is it, 10 days now? All this information is all supposition. Nobody knows. All we know is the plane didn't arrive. That's all we know, for a fact.
From all your training, have you learnt from your jobs and from watching other people do their jobs in the police force, have you learned life skills that you will keep forever?
I think so, yes. And dealing with people, I think is very important. Every day you have to deal with your classmates, you have to deal with your teachers, you have to deal with your family, your brothers and sisters. Sometimes they annoy you. If it's my sister, normally my sister annoys me. You have to learn to deal with people, which is what you're doing as you grow up. Because we can't always do what we want to do, right? It's a fact of life.
Later today we're going to have to write a bio on you. So could we just get some background, like, we know you're Welsh, but
Half Welsh.
Half Welsh and half
Scottish. You want my life story in 20 seconds? I was born in Nairobi, which is
in Kenya.
Kenya, yeah. It's capital of Kenya. My father was Royal Air Force, my mother was a teacher. We moved around for most of my young... In fact, it wasn't until your age I went to school in UK, and it was a boarding school. And it was the longest time I ever stayed in one place because of the RAF. We kept moving everywhere, every 2 years. And I learned very early, about your age, I didn't have to do any work because in the coming exams I wasn't going to be there. I was going to be somewhere else. So I was very, very lazy. You know, exams are so-and-so, yeah, I'm not going to be here, so it's not my problem. And then you go to a new school, different systems, different people, maybe exams, maybe not. So then I went to boarding school. It was the longest time I'd been in the UK, for 7 years. And then at the age of 19, I came to Hong Kong and became a police officer. That's it. Short story.
Are you still a police officer now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask you, have you got any idea what you want to do? No, it doesn't matter. You're still young. What about you, Manu? No idea. Good. No idea.
For me, maybe island school PE teacher.
Oh really? You're a jock. Fair enough.
I want to be a 3D designer.
Okay.
Designing
CDI,
3D products.
CGI. Okay.
I just want to live like a robot person.
Make lots of money.
No, I'm just live like a robot.
Okay. Fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, at the age you are now, I wouldn't expect you to know. And things change, right? So maybe you'll change. You don't know. Fair enough.
When after you found out you couldn't join the military and you went into the police force, did you always have your mind set on being this?
Doing what I'm doing now.
Doing what you're doing now?
No, it's unless you specialise. I'm what's known more as a generalist. So you've heard the term jack of all, master of none. Basically, they put you in jobs and you're the instant expert, and yet maybe you've got no idea what you're doing half the time. It happens.
Have you ever have you ever had to undergo how to use a polygraph and how to use?
Not in my position, no. But we don't use polygraphs, to my knowledge, in Hong Kong because they're not always 100%. Yeah, but again, in America, they're not even 100% in America.
Then
Because you can get one expert to say one thing, then another expert to say another thing. So how do you decide which so-called expert? Is she right or are you right? It's difficult. You'd say she's not right?
No, because we're having a bet. If the police force uses a polygraph, and I said yes, and he said no.
Okay. I don't know too much about polygraphs, I have to say.
So you work as with the coroner, so you have to look at evidence to this, you have to work with evidence. How do you use the evidence and make it into like rock solid information to give to the coroner?
Okay. I get medical reports from doctors. I get statements, written statements from friends, relatives, people that work with the deceased, girlfriend, wife, brother, sister, whatever. And I build a picture of that person's, depending on the situation, basically the last couple of years of that person's life. Did they have a drink problem? Did they have a drugs problem? Were they in debt? Did anybody not like them? Was there a problem at home? Were they abused? What, you know, there's so much information. Even you, at your age, will have a lot of people that know you. Forget about school, your family, your immediate family, then you've got the rest of your family. So, from the statements, from the medical evidence, from the photographs, I will then build basically a story, if you like, of that person's life, focusing normally on the last couple of years of that person's life. Then I have to decide whether to recommend a death inquest or not to the coroner. And sometimes the coroner will disagree with me because that's his job. He's the boss in law. I'm tasked in law to assist him. But the final decision is the coroner's.
If you were to come into a secondary school, would you like say to the children that it's a good idea to go into the police force, or do you think?
Wow, that's a loaded question. That is a loaded question. Can I say yes and no?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
It very much depends what you want to do. Is it a good place to work? Yes and no. Yes, in that you'll see things and do things that you wouldn't normally do as a civilian. The money's not bad, let's face it. Some people actually come in, do maybe 5 years, and then go on and do something else. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. As a career, if you're that way inclined, yes, it's a good job. But some people don't like discipline. No, I'm just joking. I don't particularly enjoy discipline myself. I don't like having to do things I don't want to. If you don't like discipline, or that is going to make your life difficult. But then, because the police force is so large, we can accommodate most people. The police force is a mirror of the society in which you live in. So we've got bad people in the police force as well. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's not all. We're not all saints by any means.
So, like, if you're on most days in the office, are you like working on cases all the
Saturday I was
time?
working outside. I had an undercover operation. I had to put 2 guys into a restaurant that was selling alcohol, but they didn't have a license. Because I'm also responsible for the licensing where I work. So I put 2 of my guys in, and I gave them money to buy alcohol. But because it was a hot pot restaurant, they bought, would you believe, the most expensive hot pot they could find. But the premises wouldn't sell them alcohol, so there was no offence. But what really got me was we're sitting in the vehicle, so the rest of me and my team were sitting in the vehicle. They'd gone into the premises, they'd got this $500 hot pot for 2 of them, the best hot pot they could buy. And they sent a photograph on WhatsApp to the rest of the team, waiting in the vehicle, having McDonald's, going ha ha ha, which I thought was quite good. So one of my guys took a photograph of McDonald's and sent it back, going, not as good as this. Which I thought was quite amusing.
Have you ever? How often does it happen where you think that somebody, but the coroner has disagreed with you? How does it?
Very rare. Very rare. There is a system in law that I can appeal against the coroner if I think the coroner's wrong, but it's very, very rare.
If you do appeal against, say if you got a new coroner,
Yeah.
and you appealed against him, like say if he disagreed with your first one, does that like break down your relationship with?
No, not really, because we're separated. the police is separate from the court system, which is separate from the lawyers. So we don't have to like each other too much, as long as you're professional. But obviously, professional courtesy is we must have professional courtesy. But we don't have to like each other. And because the system is separate, there's checks and balances. So what you think may not be what she thinks. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you also work with like lawyers and the judge?
Unfortunately, yes. If I get a case that I'm not 100% about, I have to go and get legal advice from the Department of Justice. And sometimes I disagree with that advice. But they then, I have to justify why I disagree with that advice.
Even if you're like on a case and you want to like search someone's apartment, you need to get like a search warrant.
Yeah. I get a search warrant, I go to a magistrate, and I have to tell the magistrate why I think that particular location is suspicious. So for the undercover operation, I had to have a search warrant because I suspected that this premises was selling alcohol without a license. So that search warrant then gives me lots and lots of power. I can do whatever I like, basically, with that search. But I have to I have to convince the magistrate that there's justification. I can't just go and get a search warrant to search my house. No. Why am I searching my house? I've got to have suspicion, justifiable suspicion.
How much evidence do you need to have to make a decision? Does the court?
For a coroner's case?
Yeah, for a coroner's case.
It depends on the case. Sometimes it's very clear cut. Sometimes it's not so clear cut. So it very much depends. Every case is different. There are so many different variables, there's so many different circumstances. I mean, if you're lying there with a knife in your throat, I think that's suspicious, right? So I wouldn't be dealing with that. It would automatically go to a criminal investigation, CID, because it's suspicious. But like this girl that fell in the shower, collapsed in the shower in Hong Kong Youth, she was 18, she was fit, she had no medical problems, and there was no cause of death. The pathologist could not determine the cause of death. But through research, there's actually a thing called, you've heard of cot death? Little babies dying for no reason.
Yeah.
There's actually a thing called adult death, sudden death syndrome, and they die for no reason. There's nothing medically wrong with them. They're perfectly healthy individuals. But for some reason, they die. Sudden death. Sudden infant death is SID, but there's also sad, sudden adult death. And there are cases that people die for no reason. So it's not suspicious, but we can't find the cause of death.
In the future, what do you aspire to do in the police force?
Quite happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. Because I've been doing it so long. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the people I'm working with. The guys that work with me, because they say that they're all volunteers. And they're all quite hardworking, and they want to get ahead.
What would happen if you were getting evidence from a family member, but it was outdated or it was false?
How would I know it was false?
Say if they thought they had gone to the movies with their friend, but they were actually out shopping.
Okay, so I'm looking at it as a suspicious death. If I thought it was suspicious to such an extent, then I would probably pass it to a criminal investigation, CID to take over. If there was a problem. If I'm not happy with it, then I would probably hand it. I'd speak to my boss and see what my boss said. But if I wasn't that happy, I'd try and get over to CID with the experts.
Is there like different divisions?
Many. We're largely broken up geographically, but also there's different jobs for different people. I'm uniform branch, CID are plainclothes, as you mentioned, ballistics. We've got police tactical unit, which are the riot mob, the heavies. Great fun. Not so much great fun if you're on the receiving end. Traffic, we've got Marine Police. I think he was a traffic officer, the guy over there. big bites. I hate them. Dangerous.
Do some have like full immunity
From
from like? Do they get like?
no. Everybody in Hong Kong is equal before the law. Nobody is above the law in Hong Kong. The chief executive, Mr. Binge, everybody is equal before the law.
We're almost coming to the end. Are there any like facts or interesting things that about your life or about the police force that?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you feel safe in Hong Kong?
Yes.
Yes.
So I've done my job, right? I don't feel safe, particularly in London, for example. I don't feel particularly safe in places in America.
Yeah.
Well dodgy. I mean, you know, New York, partly because I don't know the place. Same as in London. I don't particularly. My sister lives in London. I don't know London, so I don't feel very comfortable in London. But if you feel safe in Hong Kong, and if my mother feels safe in Hong Kong, then I've done my job. The police force doesn't produce anything. We don't make anything. But what we do make is hopefully an environment that you feel safe in. If you don't notice the police, then we're doing our job. Yeah? Most people, when they meet police, they normally need help for some reason. Or there's a conflict. So that's the only time normally, hopefully, you would come into contact with police, hopefully. Yeah? So if you feel safe, I'm happy. My job's done.
Okay, that concludes our questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for.
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
Are there any experiences you want to mention?
Good or bad?
Up to you.
Good experiences.
How long has it been to police?
Helping this particular family find the truth about their 5-month-old child. It's very satisfying for me. Because I had to work quite hard to convince people that something had happened. So personally, professionally, for me, that was quite rewarding. And you know you've done something good. Not everybody will know it, but if you do something, if you help somebody, you feel good inside. It works both ways. I know you've all got brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
You hate them to death. But actually,
Sometimes.
yeah, of course, it's a fact of life. But sometimes you help them, especially if they're younger, you actually do feel good yourself because you've helped someone. So the good thing is, yeah, we get a lot of opportunity to help. The bad things, part of life, shift work, not much fun. Walking the streets at 4 o'clock in the morning is not much fun. Working on Christmas Day is not much fun. When everybody else is off, everybody else is enjoying holidays, not much fun. But it swings and roundabouts. Whatever you do, there'll be good things and bad things in whatever you do. But basically, we're here to help you. And if you don't notice us, then our job is done. So when you notice police, there's something wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
And if somebody tells you they're a police officer and they're in plain clothes, you can always ask to see their warrant card. Okay? Don't believe them unless they show you their warrant card. I'll just hang myself.
Thank you.
No worries. I'm just going to show you what a warrant card looks like. So somebody said in plain clothes, you can ask to see the warrant card. Pass it around.
Do you have a police badge that you can?
No, we're not like the gangs. Sorry, any Americans here?
Like America, they're like.
FBI. CSI. Put your hands. Assume the position. So if they say they're police officers, they must have a warrant card. And they have to show you. Okay?
They can't refuse.
They can't refuse. If they refuse, what does that mean?
They're not.
Police.
Yeah.
Commissioner hiring.
Oh, hell yeah. He's like God. Is there anybody higher than Mr. Binge?
Yeah, board of ESF.
Okay, is there anybody higher than the board of ESF?
No.
I don't know.
No, I don't think.
My commissioner of police, to me, they call him number 1. You know the car he drives? The car he's driven in? You know what his registration is? 1. So if you ever see a black car with just the number 1, that's the Commissioner of Police.
Okay.
And I have to salute that car. Seriously.
You have to salute it.
I have to salute. If I'm in uniform and that car passes me and it's safe to do so, I have to salute that car. Which is quite cool.
So no one else can register their car as a car plate?
They tried to, you can buy your own vanity plate. And somebody suggested that it would be good for charity to sell the number 1 because the money that people would pay for number 1, millions and millions and millions and millions of bucks, right? The Commissioner of Police said, no, it's mine and I'm keeping it. And everybody said, charity, charity, because you know you can do anything for charity, right? The Commissioner said, no, it's mine, I'm keeping it. So I thought it was fair enough. But that is because historically, the police were originally responsible for issuing car registrations. That's the only reason we have it. But I think it's kind of cool.
How many years do you have to be in the force to become?
Depends how good you are. Current one, I think, has got about 30 years plus experience.
So, like for the commissioner, would he have to the skill level? Would he have to be good at like
a pretty good police officer, yeah.
Like a shooting type of person, or
not really shooting. The previous commissioner was he used to work in. You've heard of special duties?
Yep.
They're the really cool guys, the Flying Tigers. They go through walls, go through doors, all that kind of stuff. The previous commissioner was the boss of that unit, and that's like a real SWAT team. You don't want to mess with those boys. They are really serious people. I used to do exercises with them. Quite frightening for me, because you'd be in a building like this and it'd be dark. It's quite frightening. When they kick off, it's just quite frightening. And the guys love it because it's the chance they get to beat up on an inspector. They think it's quite cool because it's not real life, but it's near as they can make it. Those guys jumping out of helicopters, all that kind of stuff. They're fit. They are seriously fit.
Have you ever seen a vigilante?
Vigilante? Not to my knowledge, no.
Have you ever
You should never take the law into your own hands. It ends in tears. Like Batman.
not gonna stop yet?
No, he's different. He's different. But yeah, I mean, police force, they're a good and bad parts. Like in anything. What's your favourite subject?
I have lots of
What's your favourite?
I don't know, I just have some.
Some are better than it. Yeah, some are better than it. So what's the good? Which class do you love going to?
I like science, English.
Science and English. So your maths is pretty good, right? My maths is rubbish.
Yeah, math is like the lowest of the low.
Everybody's got calculators and smartphones. Why do you need math? Seriously? See why?
Because there's a lot to math that.
We have to just work it out and take.
I know. It's nuts. What's your favourite subject? You must have a favourite subject. Art. That's all right. Maths, not so much.
Oh, really? 100%.
100%.
Cut out this bit.
Who are you?
And what about you?
I have a lot, but I would say PE.
You enjoy PE, and obviously PE for you.
Yeah.
Food tech or PE.
Okay.
I like eating food.
So do I.
Like baking.
I love cooking. What about you? PE?
I'm a bit good at math, but I hate math, but I like humanity.
Okay. Is she better than you at math?
Yes.
Really? Isn't that annoying? That is really annoying, isn't it? My sister was much better at me than swimming for some reason. It used to annoy me intensely. Yeah. No, nothing to see here. Keep moving, people.